Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me once again for Get Your Money Right with Yvonne. I'm Yvonne. How's it going? Listen, as we always like to do to start these sessions off, I just want to ask you, how are you doing? How are you faring? What's it like for you? We just want to make sure everybody feels seen and everybody feels heard, and this is a community of people who we're all in similar boats. I won't say we're all in the same boat, but we're in similar boats, and we are here to get as much information as we can, just to try to help. And sometimes I'll tell you about what's going on with me. Things are all right. So I told you a few weeks ago that within 36 hours, both my dog passed and my mother in law passed. So it was kind of a sad time. And last week was her funeral, my mother in law's. And, it was just nice to have people, because I got up and spoke, and people said, they heard stories about her they hadn't heard before. And that made me feel good, because that in those times, we want to make somebody, just as human to everybody as possible, and just sharing her story. So I was really happy when people said that to me. So, anyway, let's get on with it. So, the last time we were together, I showed you a blank notebook, and the lesson was to fill it up with your expenses from the previous month. So at the top, you have what you make and what you spent. And we want to do last month's because it gives you a pretty good idea of what you're spending and how'd that go for you. So I asked that because the first time I did it, it was like, whoa, this is not good. I realized that it was kind of the shell game with my money, and I wasn't really paying attention. You got money coming in, you're sending money out, but what I was doing was sending more money out than I was making. And so this keeps you honest. It's super easy. Anybody can take a piece of paper and just kind of do that for yourself so that you know exactly what you're spending. I know the thought is to, put the blankets over your head and hide, but we can't do that. We really, really have to stay on top of our money, which is why I suggest that you do that, and just make sure that you do, because it's really rather illuminating. And, you know, we all have a story to tell when we do that, and just see what yours is. It's super important. And in addition to writing down your expenses, what's coming in, what's going out, please tell me that by now you have signed up for a retirement account, whatever it happens to be at your workplace. Just make sure that you do it. And I don't care if it's $10 a pay, period, as long as it's consistent and you get to the point where you stretch that a little more. I know when I first did that, I think I put away 5% of my pay, my salary. And yeah, you're going to feel it for a minute or two, but adjust, because it is very important that you take care of your now as well as your tomorrow. So just make sure to do that. So when you were doing your expenses, what were you thinking? Were you thinking, okay, I've got this deficit. What am I going to do with it? What did you do next with that thought? Did you say, okay, here's what I'm spending, here's what I can cut out? Did you do that? Because that pretty much is one of the first things you want to do, is see what you can cut out. I had to laugh because last week I had a house guest. He came in town for my mother-in-law's funeral, and he came in Sunday, left Wednesday. And he looked in the fridge and said, you guys have a lot of stuff in there. Well, being out with him, we were doing takeout. So that pretty much filled up the fridge, right? And then he said, "You guys have a lot of eggs." And sure, as I told him, it's a cheap source of protein and you can make so many different things with it. That's my thought process. So if I can eliminate meat, what can I do to make up for it? And one of the things that we do is the eggs, because like I said, you can do so many different things with that. So what are you doing without? And then the only other thing then you can do is, once you've cut your expenses and maybe that's not enough, is then kind of look at, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do to bring in money? And what I might suggest for you is, if you don't already know yourself well enough, some people just don't think about it. I sit around and think about lots of different things. But what are you really good at? And maybe you can't answer that question, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe you can ask friends or relatives to just kind of give you 3 or 4 things that when they look at you, they believe you are good at. And just kind of go that route and just kind of see. And there's a reason why I kind of bring that up. Because what I was kind of looking at, because 2 things I did. First of all, I looked at what was it? What I could bring, how I could bring additional dollars in. And one of the things that I did was I went and tapped a pension. It's a little bit early. I kind of had to do that. That was one way I could get money, but that's not available to everybody. And I feel fortunate that I was one of the last to be able to get a pension at work. So I had that so I could help to pay the bills. And then I also was then the other thing I kind of looked at, okay, what jobs are flexible enough for me to think about doing? Because, I have a full-time job, but it's not quite paying as much as I had hoped. So what else could I do? So what I did was I kind of looked at some resources, and let me just kind of read some things to you. A virtual assistant. So you don't have to go into an office to do work. You can see about being hired, and you work from your house whenever it's good for you to be an assistant to somebody. And let's see, there's something called Boldly, Boldly, VA, Virtual Assistant Networking, and Remote Bliss. Those were just some things that I kind of looked at, when the virtual assistant, what could that be? So it's something to think about. If you're super organized and friendly and people oriented, that might be something for you to consider, just throwing it out there. And the other thing I liked was transcription services. So earlier this year, my mother and my aunt, well, actually I got the recording of it this year. They actually did this a couple of years ago, where my sisters and cousins, they interviewed my mom and her sister, just asking them different things about their life. And I had been asking for this recording for quite some time, and I got that recording. And what I wanted to do was listen to what they were saying, and did a transcript of what I heard. Never occurred to me that you could actually make money doing that sort of thing. So let's see, transcription services, what you would be doing is converting voice and video to text, which is what I did for my family. So something called Rev, REV as in Victor, Transcribe Me, exclamation point, and something called Transcription Hub. Just some ideas. Maybe for you, you do hair. You are really, really good at braids or whatever, and you're doing it for friends and for family for fun, but you're not getting paid. Rethink that, because when we're looking at ways to make additional income, that is something you might think about. Or say you're very handy and you could be a handy person. You know, some people need help in their homes, and it's not the cheapest thing to hire people to come and do a project at your house. So maybe you can help out doing something like that. Just these are just ideas, just some thoughts to think about for you to look into for a possible increased income. Whatever you need to do, I'm still finding my way too, because my salary, it's decent, and then I have the pension from a former employer, and that's nice, and I'm using as much as I can from all of these sources to pay down my student loans. And so I'll be doing that for another 3.5 years, but maybe there's other avenues for cash, and I just wanted to look into those things, and I just wanted to run that by you as well, because as we're looking at different things, when we're looking at the kids books, because hey, I am looking at Economics and You and some of the other books that I told you about. Let's see, more information there. Just ways for us to bring cash in to take care of ourselves now and in the future, because we're all going to get to that point where you're going to be living off of your savings and you will have Social Security. And just make sure that your retirement is the best that you can manage. I hear these people, oh, I have $1 million, what do I do, blah blah blah. Well, that's not going to be us. It's just not, and we have to be okay with that. I can't worry about what the Joneses are doing. All I can do is worry about me and my family and our needs. So just something for you to kind of chew on, to think about, and we'll talk more about other sources of income and maybe other ways to save money. Who knows? Just we're spitballing things, folks, and we're thinking it through, and I'm hoping that you will share with us what maybe you came across. That would be very nice. And I want to just say, if you want to be a part of this community, we would very much love to have you. So at the end of this, just subscribe. It's free. I promise you, I will never come to you asking for money. This is just something, I do this because it's something I always wished I'd had access to years ago. And so I'm just, whenever I think about it, I record some things. I'll post it on my channel, Get Your Money Right with Yvonne, and just sharing. So think about it. If you'd like to subscribe, by all means do. We would love to have you. You can give us a thumbs up or write us a note. Just, whatever you feel like. We're not going to hold you too much of anything. We just enjoy having you. So once again, I thank you for joining me for Get Your Money Right with Yvonne. I'm Yvonne, and until next time, okay? Bye-bye.